Movie review number 1390 is Familial Touch. Familial Touch is a 2025 movie directed by Sarah Friedland. Friedland. Sarah Friedland. So this movie has Music Box Films and Memento International Films. I saw this movie on July 27th, 2025 at Mariemont Theatre in Mariemont, Ohio. So this movie is a coming of age film, but it's a coming of age old film, as we see Ruth Goldman, who is an elderly woman who is suffering from dementia, who is now living in assisted living. There, she needs to deal with different people, routines, and environments, while her identity and desires transform. So, in the beginning of the movie, we see Ruth as she is living at her house, and she thinks she's having a date over, wherein her fact it is her son, and her son takes her to an assisted living place, and she doesn't exactly know where she is. Like she has dementia, and she's having some memory issues, and due to her conditions, she has to be she has to live in assisted living with other people. So her routines, her environments have greatly changed, and she isn't really sure on how to deal with it. So the movie sees her as she transitions to life in assisted living, and she is contending with her relationship to herself and her caregivers while dealing with cognitive decline. Like her memory is fading and she is facing cognitive decline. So her son decides to put her in an assisted living community where caregivers can look after her and along with other patients. But Ruth is trying to figure out what to make of all of this. Like there are days we see her trying to interact with the other patients in the community. Of course, Ruth is determined to try to think of a way for to convince the caregivers that she is fine, when where in reality there are days where she does feel fine, but there are other days where her condition kind of makes her forget things. And so this movie basically sees Ruth trying to transition into this new life, possibly for the rest of her life. Now, I enjoyed this movie, but it is sad to see that there are people out there in the world that do have dementia and other conditions involving memory loss and other forms of decline with their life and their bodies. And we get to see in this movie how Ruth's dementia basically led her to have cognitive decline at various parts in the movie. There are parts in the movie where she does seem fine, but there are other parts in the movie where we don't really see her as being fine. And this is where dementia kind of takes a hold of her. I have seen other movies involving the characters in the movie having like dementia. I think I remember this from the Farvel movie from 2021. But yeah, it is pretty interesting to see how people in an assisted living community interact with one another, as they are here for different reasons, like diseases or conditions they may have, or just because they have reached old age and cannot fend for themselves anymore. But in this case, Ruth is here because of her condition. So this movie has Catherine Charvant as Ruth, Carolyn Michelle Smith as Vanessa, Annie McQueen as Brian, and H. John Benjamin as Steve. It's a pretty good film and a wholesome film. Of course, some of the scenes in the movie can be a little um, distressing as we do see Ruth's condition becoming worsened. And let's just say that Ruth does something in the movie that makes a lot of people anxious or scared. I won't say what, but you get to see later on in the movie what I'm referring to. And while her caregivers are trying to do everything they can to help Ruth, Ruth is determined to try to figure out a way to get out of there. But we will see. But I thought it was a pretty good movie. I definitely recommend it. So that's my movie review, Familiar Touch. Please stay tuned for this movie review. Alright, goodbye.